rise. Pledge of Allegiance. Let Basham remain standing for the invocation by Ms. Franklin. All right, roll call for the record. Ms. Franklin? Mr. Basham? Ms. Overberg? Mr. Groen?
Present.
And I am present. We have quorum. Mr. Brillhart?
Yes, sir. Thank you all. Tonight we have a proposed lease hearing that we, as a formality, we have to go through. So if we remember, going back before spring break, of course, we had our 1028 hearings on the proposed 2021 building project. Just to kind of give, again, a real brief synopsis of what the project's going to involve is, of course, safety upgrades, building upgrades, site circulation upgrades, and also, obviously, lots of new square footage, primarily at the primary building, the middle school, and also the building that we're currently housed in right now at Silver Creek High School. So we're excited about it. Today officially is the last 30th day of the petition remonstrance process. We don't have anything official, but I will say we are very confident. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Otten here for his presentation.
Thanks, Dr. Brillhart and members of the board and public. I really don't have much to add what Dr. Brillhart just said. We've had 2 hearings before, but by statute, this is a separate hearing on the lease. The resolution that is on the agenda tonight approves the form of the lease. And assuming you all approve that, Dr. Brillhart has the actual lease agreement that will be signed. I can tell you that before this meeting, the building corporation met, considered the lease, and they adopted a resolution approving the lease and signing it. But with that, we've had the legal notice advertised. So if there's members of the public that want to comment, this is the opportunity to do so. And before I do that, Damien, did you have anything you wanted to add? Damien's shaking his head no. So I think nothing's really changed from what the presentation has been before. So just more of the same.
Thank you, sir. This is an official hearing, so if any member of the public would wish to address the board, you may do so. Take that as silence. No one wishes to address the board at this time. So with that being said, President, I would ask for an adjournment of the proposed lease hearing.
Do we have a motion to adjourn the hearing?
I so move.
Overberg motions. Do we have a second? Basham seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned. 6:33.
Fastest meeting on record. All right.
Next meeting called to order at 6:34. Dr. Brillhart, do you have any emergency additions to the agenda?
Yes, sir, we sure do. So if we go through all the items that are highlighted in red, and I apologize, some of these are, again, just late items that we added. There is an item under recognitions. Thank you to Greater Clark Schools for securing and sharing a donation of a large quantity of face masks from Medline Industries. Then under Section C, I'm just going to give an update on the board with our ESSER 2 and 3 CARES Act allocation amounts. And then under personnel, we have an addition for a summer school position for Silver Creek High School. And then under E, a couple of tweaks there. Under E2, we're basically going to remove this from the agenda. We're just going to simply move it to April 27th. Again, E2 will just simply be moved to April 27th. Then E7, is an addition of approval of Silver Creek High School's Academy of Finance field trip to Cluckers and Shimps for April 29th, 2021. Then under discussion action items, we have an addition for the award of the 2021 special ed room renovations to Parco Construction with a base bid of $480,000. And we would ask the board, our recommendation would be to accept alternate 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and reject alternate number 1 for a grand total of $538,000, $538,500. Those are the only emergency additions to the agenda, sir.
You've heard the emergency additions to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve those additions?
Also move.
Mr. Groen makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Approval for the minutes. We have minutes from March 15th and also March 18th. I would ask the board to make a motion and approve the minutes from March 15th and 18th.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from March 15th and March 18th, 2021 board meeting. Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And similarly, we have a lot of executive meeting minutes to approve from March 18th, March 29th, March 31st, April 1st, April 5th, April 8th, April 13th, and April 14th. I would ask the board for approval of motion and acceptance.
We have a motion to approve all the executive meeting minutes from March and April.
I so move.
Ms. Overberg makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Moving on to school reports under recognitions. It is an honor. I do want to bring up Mr. Josh Sinclair, and I believe we have one member of a cafeteria here. Silver Creek School Corporation was recently awarded the Standard Gold Level Award for outstanding service in the cafeteria. So with that being said, Mr. Sinclair, you guys would come forward to accept this award. So this award is the Golden Delicious Apple Award to recognize culinary excellence in serving fresh and nutritious meals to Indiana students and youth. So again, on behalf of Silver Creek School Corporation, congratulations. And also, we want to recognize one of our school principals, Mrs. Abby Campbell. We were notified this a couple weeks ago that she was nominated for the News and Tribune 2021 20 Under 40 nominee. And I believe we have a very special presentation for Mrs. Campbell. So, Mr. Smith, I'll turn over the reins to you, sir. those awards that doesn't speak enough about the dedication and the commitment that you have to not only Silver Creek Primary, but also your staff, also the corporation. So again, on behalf of the corp, congratulations. Well done. Well done to the staff. Obviously, it takes a team effort to come up with the results that you guys have on a daily basis inside the school. So again, congratulations. It's reflective of a team effort at the primary. So, speech? No? Okay. Man. Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hall, for obviously coordinating this, and any and everybody else who assisted with it. So you guys are more than welcome to stay. You're not going to hurt our feelings if you leave. So, okay. So Damien and Dennis, you guys are the same. So figured somebody would take me upon that offer. So the sun's shining out there. Thank you all. Enjoy your evening.
Here, you can
Thank
take
you.
his pen with
Okay, moving on with school reports. We have a lot to celebrate. Silver Creek Primary would like to celebrate Lacey Niehaus for her diligent work supporting the students, families, and teachers of Silver Creek Primary. Lacey goes above and beyond to ensure the success of our students, and she is always willing to put our students first. We are grateful for her hard work every single day. We'd also like to recognize our Pride recipients, winners showing dependability in the classroom. There's abundance of students to list there. They're on the agenda. So for sake of time, I'm going to move on here. But again, congratulations to those Pride recipients. We're very, very proud of those students. Silver Creek Middle School would also like to recognize and congratulate Jenny Jocham as the March Staff Member of the Month. Many students nominated Mrs. Jocham for outstanding performance arts curriculum she provides to our students on a daily basis. Mrs. Jocham's dedication and commitment to Silver Creek Middle School are commendable, and she consistently goes above and beyond for her students. And congratulations, Silver Creek High School boys basketball won the 2021 Class 3A state championship. Congratulations to Coach Hoffman, of course, his staff and players and families. This is the second state championship for the boys basketball team. Again, congratulations. And we will be honoring them at our April 27th board meeting over at the primary school. So we're looking forward to that. And congratulations to Cooper Jacoby on winning the Trester Award for Mental Attitude. Academic All-State Bowling, Sarah Tucker, Elizabeth Bowes, and Shelby Joyner. Congratulations to all those students. And thank you again to Greater Clark County Schools for securing and sharing a donation of large quantity of face masks for Medline Industries.
If I can, just go ahead and announce it came out today that both Cooper Jacoby and Trey Kaufman were named Indiana All-Stars.
Oh, wow.
Pretty rare to get two on the team. Well, but they both were selected.
Awesome. That is amazing.
and Bryant Northern was on the junior All-State All-Star team.
I'm sorry.
Brandon.
Brandon.
Oh, really? Really? Awesome.
A couple weeks
Right,
ago,
Brandon
that was
is on the junior.
Awesome. Let the historical run continue. So that's awesome. That's neat. So condolences to Mr. Sinclair, obviously, for the loss of his grandmother. Again, you've been in our thoughts and prayers for the last couple of months. So again, condolences to you and your family, Josh. So, reminder of upcoming events. We do not have an executive board meeting scheduled, but we do have a special board meeting, again, scheduled for April 27th at Silver Creek Primary. That'll be a 5:30 start. I repeat, a 5:30 start. And then our regular scheduled board meeting will be May 17th at Silver Creek Middle School at 6:30. Again, that'll be at the middle school at 6:30. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Hawkins for her curriculum and student service update.
We'll start.
Check, check, check.
All right, so just want to start tonight with the Silver Creek spotlights for the curricular areas. Silver Creek Middle School RTI Committee has designated and designed and implemented a digital RTI referral form recently. And so this form utilizes data points to identify students who need additional support in math or language arts, or students who have reached a level of proficiency in these areas and no longer require assistance in those particular critical subject components. So teachers analyze CFA data, summative course assessments, grade averages, Lexile scores, and state test results to recommend students entering and exiting these labs. Silver Creek Middle School will utilize the RTI format at the end of every semester to monitor student progress and placement. Silver Creek Middle School is very appreciative of the RTI committee's hard work on this form, and so we look forward to seeing the positive results for our students. So RTI is response to intervention. CFA, those are your formative assessment results. So I know sometimes I use acronyms and just need to define that for folks. So that's what some of those things mean. Just really appreciate Silver Creek Middle School's hard work with RTI efforts. I'm very appreciative of that. Summer school, just want to give everybody an update. Our preparations continue to progress with summer school. Administrator positions have been set and most of the teacher recommendations have been submitted. Silver Creek Primary and Silver Creek Elementary School summer school dates are going to be June 2nd through the 15th. There will be 2 sessions at Silver Creek Middle School. That'll be June 2nd through the 15th and June 16th through the 29th. For Silver Creek High School, those dates are going to be June 2nd through the 29th. So obviously, this is a much more robust program than normal years. So we'll be sending out specific information from each principal will be sending that out very soon with very specific details. We do anticipate having specific attendance requirements this year, and so we want to make sure that students who are provided with a slot can commit to attending all of the days. We don't want to put someone in there that's only going to attend part of the days. We understand that vacations can occur frequently during the month of June, but in order to maximize the results of our program, attendance is going to be a priority for us. So I just want to continue to reiterate that information. Our district committees, we continue to make good progress with each committee topic. With regards to mental health, this committee has been reviewing Silver Creek's current mental health supports across the buildings. And we've been working on a plan for the future. As part of this committee, we recently surveyed high school students to see if they would be interested in helping us gain input from the elementary and the middle school. We're in the process of identifying these candidates to help us. These high school students will be meeting with the elementary and middle school students before the end of the school year. And again, just trying to figure out topics that are important to them. We feel like that maybe the kid to kid instead of kid to adult interactions may look differently, and we may be able to get them to share a little bit more information with us in terms of topics that they really want to see us cover. So that's coming soon. This afternoon, we finalized year 1 and 2 activities of our 1, 3, 5 year plan. So I'll be discussing these items with principals at our meeting on Thursday. A huge celebration that's come out of our mental health committee that I'd like to announce is that Centerstone services at Silver Creek High School are already in motion for the rest of the 2021 school year instead of us waiting until next year. So that is a big celebration. The high school has not had services in it from Centerstone, we learned. And so we've been able to get that in motion through meetings with Katie Guernsey at Centerstone. Mr. Eckert has also played a huge role in this, has met with them, has provided the space at the high school in order for these meetings to begin occurring. So just really want to celebrate the fact that that's already happening as a result of our mental health team. That particular committee will not meet anymore until next fall. At that time, we'll begin the planning process to implement our year 2 initiatives, and any other updates for this year with that committee will just occur through email. So just really excited about the things that we've been able to accomplish already with that particular committee. The Language Arts and World Language Textbook Adoption Committee, each level is tying up loose ends related to this adoption. The recommendation will be submitted as part of the board packet for the April 27th meeting. All principals are aware of the recommendations for each of their buildings. The next step will be for treasurers to order materials once it goes across the board on the April 27th, at the April 27th meeting. We have been able to stay on track due to the due diligence of our committee members, but I will tell you textbook adoption honestly is one of the hardest committees that I work on. So I absolutely want to give a very special thanks to all of the committee members for all of their extra effort and hard work trying to gain consensus and for everybody to agree at their buildings to adopt. Assessment Exploration Committee, this group has met with 3 vendors to date. We have another vendor presentation set up for tomorrow. After that presentation, we'll have discussion about the vendors, our likes or dislikes, revisit what we want in an assessment, and then we'll be narrowing down our choices. At that point, we can have a couple of longer presentations to find out more about those particular products. That will occur over the next 2 weeks. And then the goal will be to have our recommendations to the board by the May 17th meeting. So again, making progress on that particular committee. The EL committee, they met last week and finalized some programming recommendations for their 1-3-5-year plan. And so I'll be working with Mrs. Mitchell and our principals to obtain more specific details about training and personnel needs. Early Childhood Committee, our first meeting is Tuesday, April 26th. Honestly, I have not had any open dates with all of the other committees. So we were finally able to get that scheduled. At that meeting, we're going to be establishing committee goals, reviewing current early childhood supports, and brainstorm needs. Our High Ability Broad-Based Planning Committee, that meeting will be on April 22nd, and so this committee will be discussing the current high ability programming, any potential changes, and our budget for the expenses within the high ability grant for next year. And so the specific 1-3-5-year plan topics, I'll be submitting that to you guys as part of the board packet for the April 27th meeting, so you guys can look at all of that in more detail. Our virtual option for the 21-22 school year. So we recently sent out a survey to the Silver Creek families regarding the virtual e-learning over the past year. All of that feedback was very useful, so we appreciate our parents taking the time to fill that out. I know it was long, and you had to do it for each child, but that data has been reviewed with every single principal. We met the other day and went through it question by question. The principals also have access to this data to share with their staff members, so it will also, someone will be going through it with the teachers as well. One of the questions on the survey was focused around the amount of parents that plan to enroll their children in a virtual option for next year. So as of about an hour ago, we had 823 responses to that survey, with 51 identifying that they would enroll their child in the virtual option. So that's approximately 6%. At multiple points this past year, we've had greater than 25% in our virtual option. We've been meeting with principals and are finalizing our details for the 21-22 virtual option, which includes completely virtual teachers. So although our teachers have done a wonderful job juggling both traditional and virtual this year, obviously it's been a lot for them, which is why we're looking at just dedicated virtual teachers. We do plan to propose that the CARES Planning Committee dedicate money to fund these 4 virtual teachers in addition to the current virtual staff. This is needed due to licensing requirements for the high school, the middle and the high school. There are still details to work out regarding classes we can offer and changes to the virtual handbook. But before we move much further, we just want to make sure that the board direction is still to pursue a virtual option for the 21-22 school year. So with that, I would ask for any feedback regarding anything in the report and specifically the virtual option.
I just had a question regarding the assessment vendors you're looking at. Are you all looking towards using a vendor that's on the approved list so that the assessment grant can be used?
Yes, we have looked at, we've looked at 2 already that are on the assessment grant list. one that is not, just to kind of see what they offer. And then the other one that we're meeting with tomorrow is also on the assessment grant list.
And you are looking on the virtual as dedicated virtual teachers, as in these are Silver Creek virtual teachers?
Yes,
I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody else. I don't know if it was spelled out during that language there, but.
yes, I'm glad you bring that up. Yes, they would be dedicated Silver Creek teachers. We would not be outsourcing them at this point, unless that is something that you all want us to pursue.
No, I personally, that's the route I would like to go. And of course, I do believe virtual is here to stay. Report on that.
Yeah, we would like to see this continue.
All right, any other questions for me? Okay.
Thank you for all the
We'll keep moving
information.
forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hawkins. And again, just kind of reiterate some of the items that she highlighted. Again, thank you for your dedication and your hard work on all those committees and textbook adoption. And I don't envy you, so, and the virtual school. But again, trying to gauge and determine the appropriate amount of resources to allocate towards the virtual school option for 21-22 school year, we are absolutely using the best data that we have to make that assumption. And obviously doing the survey is a great help. Is it 100% accurate? I hope it is. But again, it's the best we have, and we will continue to gather as the best data that we possibly can to ensure that we are as accurate as we possibly can be. So I commend the board for dedicating resources and giving us the directive to keep moving forward for the 21-22 school year virtual academy option, because I agree with you. I just am not sold that virtual is going away. I think it'll be a continuation, at least for the short term, maybe forever, who knows, but I just do not think, as an educator, I just do not think it's going away anytime soon.
I do have one question on the virtual option.
Yep.
I know that there was a waiver granted this year, but going into next year, do we know if we have a certain number of students, if we will have to file for a new school, dedicated virtual school, or are we still going to be grandfathered under the Silver Creek School Corporation?
As of right now, as long as it is not a set-alone school per se, as long as the enrollment stays below the 100 number, you do not have to qualify or submit for.
Right, I understand that, but I'm assuming
at
at 6%, we're going to be over.
Yes,
Right, little
we will
over
be.
100.
Yeah, we will.
So at that point in time, do we know if another waiver has been granted for next year, or are we going to have to file for a new school number?
We may potentially, of course, I guess, for lack of a better term, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, because, just like with anything in the past year, it's been a very fluid process. But as of right now, the DOE has not given a waiver out for that concept. So just to be clear. So, and that, again, that may happen, that may not happen. But I'm assuming we will not be the only school in the state applying for a number if that is the case.
Do we know yet what reimbursement looks like, if it's going to be 85% or at 100?
The state budget has not been approved yet. It's supposed to be approved on April 29th. Now, they may delay it a week or so, but as of right now, that has not been said yet either. So all I can say as of right now, they have not said they are going to fund virtual at 100% next year. So again, that may change, may not change, but the state budget will be approved on April 29th.
Do we know if it is not funded at 100% and it's only funded at 85%, with the number of virtual teachers that we have to hire and the expenses, what is it going to be our break-even threshold of how many students we're going to have enrolled to be able to at least offer that at a break-even service?
So if we were not to utilize CARES Act funding, which is temporary, it's temporary funding for two full school years, about 2.5 school years. If we were to do that, based upon these numbers, we estimate we have to enroll in an additional, was it 55, 60 students, I believe? It was in that ballpark. I think it was 55 or 60 students in order to basically break it even.
Break even.
So, yeah, yes, sir. Good question. Moving on, so with Mr. Sinclair, he is been gracious enough to give up his night to give us an update on the cafeteria fund. Of course, this is a pandemic-related issue plaguing every single school corporation in the entire country. So, Mr. Sinclair, if you wouldn't mind coming forward, I'll hand you the hot mic here. And Mr. Sinclair, now we've been meeting since October on this, September. So brainstorming ideas and alterations and anything and everything we can do to obviously resolve the situation. So,
Any way you could turn around and face that camera right there?
well, tell you what, Josh, might be best if you do it over there, the way you can kind of face both parties.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to update you on some of the questions that were raised in the last meeting. I hope I can address those fully for everyone. Right off the bat, the USDA it's estimated we'll get about $80,000 to help offset expenses for this year. So that'll help drive down our costs. I attached a memo letter that came out from the USDA about the food service departments across the country and what they're experiencing in the schools. And it's a $2 billion loss in meal programs, basically because we're serving 30% or more or less, or we're serving 30% or more or fewer, meals than we had last year. And we're also having to deal with a lot more increased prices on things that we weren't used to. Gloves went from $19 a case to $70 a case. That's drastic, and they're hard to come by, so sometimes they can be even higher than that. We've run into problems. We've had to switch over from using the reusable lunch trays to using clamshell tray containers because students are located throughout the schools, and so we want to keep that food closed, not exposed to any germs, and also help keep it warm. And then I gave some numbers on what the 3-compartment container costs, how many we have to use each week versus using a traditional school tray. And you can see how those numbers will skyrocket very quickly. Now, what we're trying to do is, as schools start to use the cafeteria more, or if we have children in the cafeteria eating, we will use those trays, especially for breakfast. So that's been a challenge with that. I've also included some of the sales from last year, from August 15th to April 15th, and compared it to this year. And you'll see the negative drops. Just in the a la carte, we lost $58,000 plus. That's another problem when you have students spread out throughout the schools. They can't come back up for seconds. They can't come back up, oh, I want a cookie, I want another drink. So we miss capturing those sales. We also, at the beginning of the school year, we had to reduce the amount of a la carte items that we were offering because either we weren't in school or we were closing and opening, so we didn't want to have that product in and then expire and not be able to sell it. So we minimized that list early on, say August, September, October, November, then we started to gradually increase a la carte items back to the full amount that we have now. And then adult lunch sales. You can see there how much that's even impacted us. That's negative $4,000 just from adults not being able to eat into the cafeterias or not wanting to. And then we go down to the breakfast sales. It's negative $29,000. And then the lunch sales really hit us hard with a negative $248,000. Now, granted, these students are eating free, and we do get a reimbursement on that, but it's not the full amount that really will help offset these incurred losses. Some of the other things that we're doing to combat these expenses is this year, instead of having our normal options of 3 or 4 breakfast items and up to 5, 7 options for the secondary schools, we've cut that down to 2 options for breakfast, 2 options for lunch for the elementary and primary school, and 3 options for lunch for the middle school and high school. Now, with less menu options, there is also less participation because now you're not appealing to all the students out there and all the diverse things that they may want and what they're used to having in years prior. So it's kind of that domino ripple effect that continues to happen. one of the other things that I thought about, and I haven't had a chance to really dive into the numbers per se, but when the schools did shut down, Silver Creek was kind enough to offer the food service department associates work so they could continue to earn an income, and that wasn't necessarily in the food service department. So we're using labor hours for a department in other areas of the school, whether it be for custodial, for principals that may, hey, we're going to give you a list of students to call from home, and then you report back to me and send in that work, that work order, I guess you could say. So that's another area where we've lost some money there. We're also looking into ways to drive sales, ways to increase participation. One of the ways we were thinking about was social media platforms, morning announcements, our website, to highlight the diverse menu items, also let them know that we have a full a la carte menu back up, and highlight that, hey, you can eat for free right now. You know, come in and get that breakfast, come in and get that lunch, and you're eating in the most clean, sanitized place that you could probably get a meal at anywhere in the city. These kitchens are all have 2 health inspections a year, and we always get flying 100% on those. And we also have an outside company that comes in that provides our chemicals and does I guess you could say, a preliminary inspection before the health department comes. So they're an extra layer in our sanitation program. And then something else I've been trying to do here from when I got started. However, I was told, I need to wait on some of that stuff because it takes 3 to 5 years just to learn the basics. So hold your roll on some of that. Well, this was supposed to be the year that I really got to push forward, but then COVID hit. And I was wanting to explore breakfast in the classroom. I know I get a lot of fear and a lot of pushback from teachers and principals on maybe that idea. Who's going to clean that up? What if a mess happens? And I know there's a lot of that involved, but if we worked it out and coordinated together, it's a wonderful program. On average, schools that implement this program can see up to 60% of increase in breakfast participation. So that'd be huge. And to give that in perspective is that the middle school and high school are at 5% participation for breakfast right now. So there's basically no one coming through. So if we could capture these students as they're coming in off the bus, we could capture them outside their homerooms as they're coming in. You get a couple breakfast carts. There's just one attached on the back. I think our POS system is capable of doing remote. We may even have that equipment. I'm not 100% sure. But those were things that I've talked to other directors about. The WIC co-op that I'm in, the president of that, she says that's a wonderful way to drive participation, to increase your bottom line and make more money, have more participation. So those were some of the things we were thinking about. That's a big commitment, I know. Some of the easier ones would definitely be doing the marketing campaign. If we could do something on Facebook, on our website, have our cafeteria managers actually maybe do the morning announcements for their food, and look for marketing material that we can find for free to post up to help drive some sales. And that's about all I got. If you guys have any questions,
I do.
Fire away.
Sure. First of all, thank you. I know it's been difficult, but I just have a couple questions. Can you tell us right now in our cafeteria fund what the negative deficit is for this year?
When Dr. Brillhart and I looked, it was negative $150,000 and some change.
And we're expected to receive an $80,000 reimbursement from the federal government, correct?
Correct.
Approximately?
Yes,
Okay, so that still leaves us a negative $70,000. So my question, down here under your student lunches, we've had a negative delta of $248,000 and some change, okay? Did we receive $19,838 in revenues before the government instituted a free lunch for everyone? Or is that including what we think is going to be reimbursed for the free lunch program?
That I don't think that's including the reimbursement.
So how do we have a positive, how do we have, because when did the free lunch start?
The free lunch has it started
Started last year?
last March.
Okay. So how have we accumulated $19,000 in revenue if everybody's on a free lunch? Is that through add-on sales, a la carte
A la carte
items?
sales, yes, sir.
Okay.
What did we start the school year at as far as deficit in the cafeteria fund?
When we started, I know, trying to think what it was when we started. I'd have to get back to you. I don't know that right off the top of my head. I know going into March of last year, we were 80,000 positive, and we were really, that was our first year with the WIC co-op that helps us with our power. They're a co-op of 40 school districts, have 100,000 plus students, so when we join there, our purchasing power is a lot more, so we don't have to pay so much for cereal or milk or what have you. But at the first of the year, I'd have to look that up. I don't know it off the top of my
So are
head.
we reimbursed 100%? So for example, if school lunch costs $2.50 per kid, are we reimbursed $2.50 per kid per meal? Or
No,
is it only a slight percentage?
it's a percentage of the free and reduced rate that we have.
So we're not charging the offset?
Are we mandated to have to have the students eat free, or could we implement our own policy where the students and family preference?
I don't know that one either. I guess we could not participate in that, but I don't know how the social media.
Well, my question is
affect it.
if we participate in the program where we basically are allowing the students to eat free, and we're only being reimbursed a percentage of what the meals cost, do we have a way to offset that difference, or are we allowed, if we're participating in that program, to ask the families to pay the difference? It's almost like everybody would receive reduced instead of free.
I would have to check with the IDOE
Okay.
field representative on that one.
And on your cart proposal, do you think that you have something that you could utilize to set these up now, or do you think that you would need to purchase carts? Are you going to write a grant for those carts, or do you have something?
We don't have anything at this time that we could use for that.
What's the cart cost?
Cart can run anywhere from probably $1,000 on up, depending on how eccentric you want it to be.
But you said you would see it was set up that you would see a 60% increase on 5%. Is that correct?
You can receive up to a 60% increase in your.
But you're talking
Breakfast.
but you're talking our participation.
So we
now is
could go
currently
up to
5%.
65%, breakfast participation versus 5%.
Yeah.
Or up to 55%. It just kind of varies how well the program's received and how much we really promote it and everybody buys into it as well. I could look into grants for the carts. I know there's probably some out there. I don't have a whole lot of experience with grant writing, but I'd be willing to try to do that. I have gotten one grant my first year here, so I've tried after that, but I wasn't successful. A lot of the grants are based off free and reduced rate. We're at, I think, right around 25, 30%, and if you're not above 56%, you're not going to get a lot of that stuff.
I will say that, just from my own personal feelings, that having breakfast in the classroom is not as awful as it seems. We're doing breakfast in the classroom where I'm at, and it's gone a lot better than I would have thought.
I think so. You're not going to package or have meals that are going to be, scrambled egg and bacon. You're going to try to use individually wrapped items.
Like Nutri-Grain bars, stuff like
Yeah, stuff like that. And we can still have hot items, but they would be individually wrapped, I would say would be a better way to do that on a breakfast cart. And then you just post, some trash. We actually have extra trash cans that I got for the shutdown and having to do all the meals throughout the school. So I already have extra trash cans available that we can post out in the hallways to help with that. It's just coordinating with teachers, custodials, and the staff to make sure that we're all work together to make sure this operates, well.
So if you If we were allowed to start accessing and utilizing the cafeterias more frequently, I know we're spaced out and eating in a variety of areas in each building. Would you have to still use the containers and the trays that you're using, or could you go back to using the regular trays?
I would have to.
Seems like access to the cafeteria is a problem.
That's the main
sales
thing. If
and
we could have
supplies.
students in the cafeteria, and even then, because you're still spaced, but I think we could use the cart or the trays in the cafeteria. We'd still, of course, have to buy smaller
Some,
containers where we
but not as
portion
much,
sides
maybe.
and things like that. But the big clamshells are what's getting us, because we used to order one case, per month, and now we're having to order 5 cases per week. That's going to drive everything up on us. And we're having to do additional packaging of sides where we could put it on the tray before. Well, now we're having to cup all that up. None of the students are allowed to touch anything when they come through the line. So we have to handle and touch everything for them. So that, of course, slows us down and causes more expenses, because now we have to bag everything, box everything, cup everything. And I would have to check with IDOE to make sure that we could go back to just using trays. I don't see why it would be a big fuss now that they have us down to, you don't have to separate for 3 feet versus 6 feet. So I'm thinking that would be a more lenient thing. And I think it's kind of up to the school districts too. If we feel comfortable with that, then we could. And bringing the more students back to the cafeteria.
I mean, I'll tell you, I like this idea. You said you got met with resistance, but this is the first time I've heard about it. And I think going in from 2020, at the beginning of March, and you already had that, this is something that we've already possibly could have foreseen, and maybe could have helped implement this a little bit sooner if feasible. But that's just me. I hadn't heard about it.
I think that we're at a really hard crossroads to try to ask any building level administrator at this point to revisit basically what is the reopening plans. If we ask them to start moving kids into the cafeteria to eat, they have to revisit what that looks like during the day and the staffing and everything with regards to that. So that's really tough. It's just one of those things I think we have to decide if we can get through the rest of this year. But the biggest question I have is if we could get some information on what we are paying and being reimbursed, because the difference, that's our biggest hole and our biggest difference. And if we can implement our own policy where everyone is basically getting reduced, those that get free or who are eligible for free stay at free, but those who maybe would not qualify for free lunch, but then would also maybe just qualify for reduced, that still helps our families in the community, but would eliminate this nearly $250,000 difference that we have.
Are you saying and making it a option for parents to decide if they would rather pay for it or go with the free option?
No, I mean, if a meal costs $2, and I'm just using rough numbers, and we're reimbursed $1, and everybody's eligible for free, but everybody's eligible for the $1 reimbursement, but not maybe the full $2. Like, can we ask the parents who are not eligible for free to just pay the difference?
That's what I'm saying. It's most like an
Yeah,
option.
so I think that would help if we had the information on whether or not,
I can get that. Yes, ma'am.
what we're actually being reimbursed per student, and then if we are able to adopt our own policy.
Josh, do you know if the free program is going to roll over to the 2021 school year? Has there been any
It
talk?
extends through September 2021. I know that there's several organizations that are lobbying right now to have that extended for all of next school year as well, but I haven't heard anything else at this time. All I know is it's through September at this point.
So my question would be for Tom, this deficit of $70,000, what bucket are we getting that money from to cover that?
More than that.
Well, so it's kind of an accounting system concept. So we're paying that our cafeteria workers get paid out of the same checking account as my paycheck comes out of. So the fund is negative. The only way we could make the fund positive by an internal transfer is the board would have to pass a resolution. We would have to take it out of rainy day and or operations. I would suggest rainy day, kind of like the West Clark board did back in it was June, I believe, of 2021, before the split. But again, that's why a rainy day is there, is for purposes just like that. So that would be your option, is to take it out of rainy day fund. Now, our rainy day fund is set. We have a rainy day fund, but we have not transferred any funds into it. So it's a balance of 0 as of today. Now, that'll change in the future once we,
What's a balance of 0?
our rainy day fund. Our rainy day fund is a balance of 0 as of today. And that's okay, because what the long-term plan is, once we completely dissolve West Clark and Borden-Henderville gets their proportionate share of leftover funds, we get our proportionate share of leftover funds. That's why we set up our rainy day fund. Borden-Henderville did the same thing, is that rainy day fund monies that we will receive, let's say it's $500,000, we will literally just receipt it in, plop it back right into our rainy day fund, end of story. And then what we do with it, totally up to you all.
So we don't actually reconcile this negative balance in the cafeteria fund until the end of the school year?
Yeah, you can do it anytime you want. I would not recommend doing it until after June 30th, just because of Form 9. So if you were going to take action on it, I would recommend probably waiting until September, because that way all expenses are accounted for that June 30th deadline.
Can we use any of our CARES Act money or ESSER money coming in?
Great question. There is nothing in CARES Act that says you can. There's nothing in CARES Act that says you can't. CARES Act, which is something I'm going to be talking about here in a second, the expenditures have to be revolved around learning loss and pandemic-related issues related to the operation of the school. So having a negative fund balance in your cafeteria fund, again, we're not the only corporation, I can tell you, that's going to be asking their Title I coordinator at the state level the same question. No one's got an answer on that. I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Sinclair, I think I have one last question. Let's say September we reconcile, move money to take the cafeteria fund to a delta of 0. Do you foresee, if the free lunch continues through 2021-2022 school year, that we're in this same position? Because I mean, it's a $200,000 difference. If we were positive 80 and now we're minus 150, that's $230,000. Do you expect us to be $230,000 in the negative after next year?
I don't. What I'm seeing trending starting in March is our participation is now starting to surpass March of last year. And we're back, our numbers are back to what they were. The elementary school's doing over 200 for breakfast now. They're doing over 500 for lunch on a consistent basis. The primary school's numbers are in their mid 200s like they were. Middle school's doing great for lunch. High school is still kind of iffy for lunch. And both of those, the middle school and high school with the breakfast, that's basically non-existent right now. So if we could, like I said, we could just feature or hit and focus on the secondary schools for the breakfast program at this point if we wanted to, and not do it corporate wide. Just try one school and see how it works, and if that goes well, maybe expand after that point in time. I want to give another explanation of why our expenses are the way they are. Is, for instance, we come in on Tuesday and Wednesday or Tuesday night, we get a call saying, hey, we got to close the schools down. And my managers have already placed their orders to come in for Thursday. Well, now we can't cancel them with that short of a notice. So now that food's coming, that school's shut down. What do we do with that? Once it hits our docks, we can't return it like we could in years past. Like if you got overabundance of milk and we didn't have enough to sell, we could get credit for it and have Prairie Farms come pick it up. Same with produce. But now you can't do that. Once it's in your doors because of COVID, you have to take it. And if we're shut down for 14 days, you're going to naturally lose that milk. You're going to naturally lose that produce or anything else that's not shelf stable. So what we did to help with that is that we did donate that milk. We did donate that produce to first responders as this happened. But that doesn't recover anything. It just doesn't go to waste or to a landfill. But when those things happen, we couldn't, sometimes it's not enough time for us to recover or cancel orders. So we just have to roll with it and try to use what we can.
So that 2-week shutdown, how much did that cost us?
At any particular school, each order's run typically around $2,500. So, you know, if you have 3 schools shut down and we place 2 orders a week, you know, it can add up very quickly.
Didn't
And
we
it's-
do pickups during that time, though?
Yeah, we were doing pickup sack lunches, but the participation was very, very low. We couldn't get anybody to come pick the lunches up, and we
And you
tried
only get
several-
reimbursement on what's being picked up?
Yes, you would, yes. And we tried several different formats. We tried to do it daily. We tried to do it twice a week. And we just couldn't get anybody to show up. As much as we send out notices and blast it on email and social media, we just couldn't get anybody to come through to pick up the lunches. Now, the middle school the elementary school had a lot of participation, but none of the other schools really did.
So Jonathan, basically where we're at now, we're stuck until next fall. And the ideals that we've put on the table that for free and reduced for families to make up the difference, we could implement a program like that next year if it's still mandate to provide the lunches.
We could check into that. I don't know the ins and outs of doing something hybrid like that, but I imagine, you know, I can find out and see what the IDOE suggests, or if that's an option for us to do something like that. I would just be worried about the backlash that you might get from parents. Well, all these other districts are all free. Why are you going to make us pay now? They don't have to pay. I just hate for that to come back on us. Not that, you know, I think that's a great idea to help recover, but you may get some flack as well if they, you know, as the social media frenzy happens with stuff like that.
I think if we weren't getting participation, sometimes you gotta look at some of these kids may not have transportation here that's, you know, so maybe next time we might even look into maybe taking a bus 1 week to one neighborhood and saying, hey, we can all meet here.
We took to Indian Hills as well. We would
Well,
load
like I said,
up.
I don't want to specify one area. I think we look at it because, you know, you could say, hey, some other people eat at anywhere, and maybe it's an option to say, hey, maybe we can take a school bus from here and we're going to provide lunches, and anybody who wants to, instead of driving here to the school, we come to them. It's just like I said, it's just the things that are popping in my head that we can, you know, give back to the students that way. Because instead of throwing it away, and even first responders may not use everything, we can say, hey, we're going to come to your neighborhood. If you want it, great. If not, we at least tried.
Yes.
Are there, maybe I'm misunderstanding here, are there 2 different programs? Because I know of schools that have the free program and it's not reimbursed at a discountable rate. So I guess, I mean, are we talking about 2 different programs? Did we actually receive the grant that allows for free program? Or are we just under the normal free and reduced that's always been around?
No, we are underneath the blanketed government where all schools are free across the nation right now.
And that's only reimbursed at a certain percentage of our cost?
I believe so, yes. I'm trying to think of the dollar amount it is per student. I don't want to misspeak, so I could look the numbers up and be able to email that to everybody.
Yeah,
later this
I'm
week.
curious on numbers. Some more clarity on that. I'd like to see.
Any other questions for Mr. Sinclair?
Thanks, Josh, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the overarching, thank you, Josh, appreciate it. Overarching issue is, you know, we might be getting reimbursed at $2 a meal, but it's costing us $3 a meal to fix it. And that's, you know, that's the conundrum that we're in. And again, it's just things are more expensive this year, just like building a house. And unfortunately, that doesn't stop at the cafeteria door. And so, thank you, Josh. And, you know, obviously the worst thing for us to do is ignore this problem. Obviously, we're dealing with this problem responsibly, and we will keep doing that on a daily, monthly basis. Moving on to financial reports. So within your packet, I gave you the March end report for Education Operations Fund. So in Education Fund, we receipted in a total of $1,579,618.88. And we had a grand total of expenditures in the Education Fund of $1,243,328.64, which leaves us a grand total reflective in the Education Fund of $5,000,000 $379,504.41. But again, as I reminded the board last month, please remember, most likely in September, maybe even October, again, we'll just kind of see how it plays out with closing down the joint service fund. We will make an internal transfer from the education fund of our proportionate share into the joint service fund to make that joint service fund balance a zero. So again, we'll deal with that after June 30th. So again, that 5.3 million, on paper it's accurate, but in reality it's not. So again, just keep that in mind. And then for operations, on paper, again, we had a negative revenue month in operations. The reason why we had miscoded an expenditure, and when the invoice went out and we got it remitted back, we fixed it. But again, it was in February, but we had to remit it in March. So again, it caused us to have a negative balance of $3,250.85. Not a huge amount by no means, but that's the reason why that's reflective of that. And our total expenditures for the month in operations was $377,413.89, leaving us with a fund balance in the operations fund of $743,184.10. And again, we will not get our injection of cash in the operations fund until we get our first levy payment for Silver Creek here in June. So we're looking forward to that moment. So,
Excuse me, do you know what that's expected to be?
well, our total levy for the operations fund is 3.576, I believe, for the year. So approximately half of that. So, yep, probably 1.8-ish. And then for the docket, sorry, Ms. Franklin, for the docket, we had total claims of $1,674,895.51. We had two payrolls on this docket of $926,946.25 for a grand total of $2,601,841.76. Any questions on the financials? Okay, and then just to give the board a brief update, you've heard us talking about ESSER and CARES Act 2 and 3. So everyone in the state got a notification here recently, about 3 weeks ago, an updated notification on their CARES Act 2 allocation, which ours went up. I'm assuming everyone else's went up. Originally, it was $753,000 for CARES Act 2. And our updated CARES Act 2 amount is $787,062.06. And then consequently, about, last week, on April 15th, we got a notification from the DOE that our preliminary allocation amount for CARES Act 3 is a total of $1,776,629.58. So those two amounts combined, Silver Creek Community Schools with CARES Act 2 and 3 or ESSER 2 and 3 will be $2,554,691.64. Now this thing is alive and breathing. I can assure you it changes every day. And again, the most conceptual item that I can tell you is the allowable expenses, as I referred to earlier, has to be centered around learning loss. That's the main thing. And again, you can hate to say stretch that concept respectfully, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to contribute it back to a COVID pandemic related item that hampered obviously your educational well-being within your school. So we have curated a CARES Act 2 and 3 committee. We met for the first time last Wednesday. The task of this committee is to literally get ideas on paper and then build a budget, give you all that budget by the May 17th board meeting. You all approve that budget, and then we move forward with implementation, plain and simple. So this committee has a tall task in front of them. Not to say it could not be fluid by no means. But we need to know because the 21-22 school year it's here. I mean, it's right around the corner. So as I was saying earlier, These monies, as of right now, have to be 100% liquidated by December of 2023. So that means, and that may get extended, okay, there's already rumors in the mill that that's going to get extended potentially, but what that means is you have 2 full school years for sure that you have these monies at your availability, possibly half of a 3rd school year as of right now, okay? So what we are telling the committee is when we start thinking about expenditures, we got to think about sustainability. We don't want to implement something that we cannot sustain for the 23-24 school year, because we'll only have it on paper as of right now. We'll only have it for half that year. So that's the challenge that we're faced with right now. So we'll keep you all abreast as we're going through that situation, that committee. We're meeting again this Wednesday. Plan on meeting again next Wednesday if needed, and next Wednesday if needed, like I said, and then we'll give you all the recommendation at the May 17th board meeting. Any questions on ESSER 2 or 3?
No, thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you. I went through the finances, again, talked about the claim docket, our ed operation transfers, again, $229,652.46. I did want to highlight one of our approval of donations, Ecotech. We actually had a photo op today. Brian Slade and Ecotech, they've been very generous with us. They donated all the beautiful trees around Silver Creek Elementary. Today, they've already committed doing the same thing as needed at Silver Creek Primary, and also the same thing as needed for the Silver Creek High School and/or renovation project to our campus. So again, we're very thankful to Ecotech and their partnership and their gratitude with their donations. Instruction, we have nothing under instruction under B. Under personnel, C1, we have 3 positions to approve, and then obviously our summer school for the primary and also the high school. Under C2, we have 1 certified resignation. Under C3, we have 2 appointments. Under classified appointments, under C.4, classified resignations, we have 1. Under C.5, classified terminations, we don't have anything. Under C.6, ECA, we don't have anything. C.7, leaves and retirements, we have 2. Under D, technology, there is nothing. Under E.1, we have a resolution of 2021 R9 lease agreement for the 2021 projects, which again goes back to our holding corp that met for the first time this afternoon. Again, we are going to strike and delete E2. We will simply move that to the April 27th board meeting. Under E.3, acknowledgement of the SCSC Holding Corporation. Again, we met earlier today at 5 o'clock. The holding corporation did have a meeting, and they nominated their president, vice president, and secretary. So it is as this. Marcy Grube is the president of the SCSC Holding Corp. Doug Kaufman is the vice president of the SCSC Holding Corp. And Mr. Tony Bennett is the secretary of the SCSC Holding Corp. Of course, Mr. Dennis Otten will be bond counsel, and Jonathan Mays will be legal counsel. E.4, renewal of Go Solutions contract for 3 years. There is no change in the fee structure. E.5, approval for Silver Creek High School prom at Lakeside Reflections in Jeff. E.6, approval of addition of a job coach position. And of course, the pay scale coincides with that. And then E.7, approval of the Silver Creek High School Academy of Finance field trip on April 29th. That concludes the consent agenda, sir.
Tom, I got a question on our resignation. Didn't we just hire this position here recently? The permanent sub 4.1.
I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, he was approved. It was either
Late February, board meeting,
early March,
early
one or the
March.
other. Yeah,
Are we already losing people?
I couldn't speak upon that particular position. I think he just found a better paying job outside the corporation. I believe.
We were
So.
kind of used as a stopgap to.
I'm sorry.
We were kind of used as a stopgap between employment.
No, he was already an employee. I think he was an instructional assistant, and then he moved to be this position. So okay. I believe so.
Just want to make sure if we're
and I could
someone
be
within
incorrect
the
on that,
field.
but I'm pretty sure that's the case there. So okay, thank you.
Anybody have any questions on the consent agenda?
I would just ask, since we never actually voted on the holding corp, members, that be moved to discussion so we can actually have an official vote on them.
Do you want to make a motion to move that?
Yeah, motion to move E3 to discussion.
Do we have a second to move E3 to discussion and be voted on separately? Do you want all three positions to be voted on separately?
I mean, yeah, just for, technicality's sake.
Okay. All right, Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We'll move E3 to separate discussion and voting for all three positions and bond counsel legal. Any other questions that we have on the consent agenda? With no other discussion, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Ms. Overberg moves. Do we have a second? Ms. Franklin seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So under number 1, discussion action items, we have award of the 2021 special ed room renovations to Parco Construction. Again, I repeat this, it's a base bid of $480,000, and we are asking to accept alternate 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and reject alternate 1 for a grand total of $538,500. So just a real brief history on this. We had two bids presented to us at the bid opening, one of which did not qualify. So therefore, we go to the next appropriate bid, which was Parco Construction. And again, it'd be my recommendation to award this this bid to Parco Construction. They are the same firm that was awarded Project 3's original contract, which was the elementary and the bus compound and the primary school and everything. So same firm. So that'd be my recommendation, sir.
We have a motion.
Can I ask a question on
Yep,
this?
sure.
We received 2 bids. One was not even a qualified GC. I noticed this is on Covert Hawking's website. Are our bids being put out in any other bid formats?
Yeah, so we have to legally put a notice out in the News and Tribune.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about on the construction side. There are a lot of different.
Dodge, bid exchange, different. Okay.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I could not answer that. I'm
Do you know who handles that? Or if they go back to Covert?
yeah, they go back to
So can we ask Covert Hawkins if they are submitting this onto public format
Sure.
pages? I just feel like I looked at theirs, like I said, their website, and it seemed like most they were getting were maybe 3, 4 max on most of these bids. And
Okay.
I would assume if this was more publicly known, especially with so many general contractors in our southern Indiana area, even one that's actually used to work for here didn't even know about it. And they recently just did projects here. So when I asked that question, it was like, oh, didn't even know about it. I just want to make sure we are doing our due diligence to have this public bid opening, but actually have more than just one bid.
I sure will. I will ask.
And that probably comes into play a little more when we start our building project renovations for the new council.
Yep.
We have a motion to accept Parco's Construction's base bid and alternates totaling $538,500.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Groen makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Basham seconds. Do we have any further discussion on this item before we go to vote? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And again, just to reiterate with the board, we have asked them to begin work after teachers leave in late May, and their deadline to finish is before July 27th. That is their deadline to finish. So of course, obviously we can't control supply chain, things like that, but that is their deadline. That has been clear and precise. Okay, so we've moved for number 2, discussion action item. We have the acknowledgement of the SCSC Holding Corp. I won't go through the diatribe of details there. So I don't know if the board wants to vote on each member separately or just in total.
That was
Yeah,
the motion.
separately.
That was the motion that was made and approved.
Okay.
So do we, we'll put a motion on the table, then we'll second it, and then we'll have, once it is seconded, we can have discussion. First would be President Marcy Grube. Do we have a motion to accept?
I motion.
Ms. Overberg motions. We have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. We have discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next up is Vice President Doug Kaufman. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Franklin seconds. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. For our Secretary, Tony Bennett, we have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Groen makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Ms. Overberg seconds. All those in favor, I'm sorry, do we have any discussion?
I did want to mention with Tony Bennett, there's several Tony Bennetts in this area. We have the Tony Bennett Photography, Tony Bennett Financial, which is this Tony Bennett, and then the Tony Bennett that most people know in education. So I just want to bring clarity to this is Tony Bennett with a financial service in New Albany.
Sellersburg resident Tony Bennett.
Yes.
Now that we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, now we have Dennis Otten, Bond Counsel. We have a motion to approve. Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Overberg seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, next up and last, we have Jonathan Mays as our legal counsel. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Groen makes the motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Franklin seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, without any further ado, before the board does leave, I have an abundance of documents for you to sign, so please don't sneak away on me. Thank you all. Thanks.
Do we have any community input? You sure? All right. Hearing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, actually, I wanted to tell the community, I'm super excited about our new construction projects. I honestly feel, with everything that's gone on, that this community is 100% behind this and looking forward to the future of having, the renovated high school, potentially new renovation of an addition at the high school, addition at the middle school and the primary, a lot of stuff in the works, but honestly, thank you guys so much. We truly appreciate you. I'm honestly also looking forward for the teachers to have the tools and have the facilities that they need and they request, and I think that for our students as well for having that. So I'm really, really excited about this. So I can't be happier.
Yeah, and I would like to add on to that, when my son started here in first grade, I just thought for sure our high school would be taken care of by the time he came through, and that didn't come to pass. But I'm thrilled that today, not only I'm being able to be a part of that process, but that it's definitely a go now, and I just could not be happier for our district and our community. It's an exciting day for sure.
I did check in with the clerk's office today. There was no petitions from remonstrance, and that was at close of business today. So I don't know if that's official, but
It'll be official once Mr. Otten gets the letter from the clerk's office, which will be about a week from today.
Awesome. So I just want to pretty much reiterate what you guys said. This has been a long time coming for this community. There's a lot of people, parents, community members, students who have went through this school district and will never see the efforts of their parents or community members who fought for change. And today is a step where we don't look back, we look forward. Lots of great things are coming. And I just want to say thank you to every single person who ever fought to get us where we are today. And I want to also say thank you to Doug Hoffman, who made that motion to get us to separate, because that was no doubt a huge decision that helped us get to where we're sitting at today. That was a big step. So I just want to say thank you. And for all those people that fought to get us here, whose kids never saw anything, those efforts were not in vain. Our goal is to leave this school district and this community a wonderful place for your student who's an alumni of this school corporation to come back to. And so just thank you. Thank you to every single person who got us here today. This is a big day for Silver Creek School Corporation.
Anyone else? All right.
Just say it's been somewhat of a pleasure the last year just learning about one school instead of three. So agree with the rest of the board. It is an exciting time. What happened last year probably should have happened back in the mid-90s. Good thing now we move forward and make Silver Creek the most attractive place to come in Indiana.
I'll ditto everything there. And then again, I just want to take a second to just congratulate Miss Campbell again on the 20 under 40 by the News and Tribune. Very, very special person at the primary school. With that being said, do we have anything else? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll so move.
Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Overberg seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting